The first step in people's journey with their consciousness advisor is a chat, just to hear what it's about and decide if they want to engage more. So this is normally done either just one-on-one if they happen to be with somewhere near the consciousness advisor, maybe on a retreat or something like that with them. Otherwise, it's done in either an online or in-person talk, kind of like either a webinar or like we would do our intros. Now, we don't know all the 1,000 or so of you here personally, so we'll follow this format of doing more like a consciousness talk. So there are many of us here. Throughout the Consciousness Advisor program, of course, it was full of bright shining stars, but one that shone the brightest was Heather Evans. So we want to play for you her consciousness talk, so you can already get to see her a little bit, and she'll be joining us in the afternoon session to meet with us via the Zoom connection. So let's go ahead now and hear her video. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heather Evans, and I'm a certified consciousness advisor, meaning I am trained in human consciousness and the evidence-based technologies that help us develop it. It is a great joy, because I'm a bit of a consciousness geek, to talk about two things today: what consciousness is and how we develop it. Why? Because the quality of your life depends on the quality of your consciousness. Consciousness is primary. It's the foundation of our lives. Without it, there's nothing. You can't hear, you can't feel love, you can't assess your own presence. Your experience of reality is your experience of consciousness. Now, the knowledge I'm going to share with you was brought to light in detail by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, a physicist by training who came from the ancient Vedic tradition, and then elaborated on by Dr. Tony Nader, who worked with Maharishi for many years and is a Harvard and MIT trained neuroscientist and is widely regarded as the foremost expert of our time on the study of consciousness and human development. In fact, I highly recommend Dr. Nader's most recent book, One Unbounded Ocean of Consciousness. Now, Dr. Nader explains that there are two aspects of consciousness. There is the physical, which is limited to our senses, and the non-physical, which is beyond our senses. So there are bands of light our eyes can't pick up. There are sounds dogs can hear, but we can't. So beyond the senses like that. You know, the ocean is actually a great metaphor for this. The physical aspect of consciousness is like waves on the surface of the ocean that are seen and experienced as individual waves. The non-physical aspect of consciousness is like the silent depths of the ocean that has within it the potential to create all possible waves. So all possibilities exist under that surface. And so like that, your consciousness on the surface is bubbling with thought and activity, but there's also something beneath the activity of thought, a higher state of pure consciousness, a peaceful field of creative intelligence. In physics, the world's greatest minds have analyzed matter into smaller and smaller components, down to the super small quantum level, in an effort to explore the ultimate reality beyond our senses. What lies there? And the current theory is that there is a field at the base of everything, of you, of me, of all matter, a field of all possibilities, and it's intelligent. They call this the unified field. And because we're all connected to that field at our source, as more and more people raise their consciousness, it affects our families, our communities, and the whole planet. Now, before we get into how we do that, it's helpful to understand that humans have different capacities for consciousness. We're all familiar with the three basic states: waking, dreaming, and sleeping. But there is a fourth higher state of human consciousness discovered by Dr. Keith Wallace at UCLA in his groundbreaking research in 1970, actually the year I was born. And this fourth state of consciousness is called transcendental consciousness. It's distinctive from waking, dreaming, or sleeping in that you enter a state of deep physiological rest, but you maintain alertness of the mind, giving you a very personal experience of pure consciousness or being. It's what the great philosophers and thinkers throughout the ages have explored and called the self. So accessing this state of peaceful alertness is key to our ability to releasing stress and to the experience of our greatest health and well-being. So how do we develop it? There are many scientifically validated consciousness-based Maharishi technologies that we can discuss in detail. But the technology that develops consciousness most directly is the Transcendental Meditation Technique, or TM, which we can discuss a little later. But before I close, I'd like to highlight 3 simple main points we've covered about your consciousness. First, because consciousness is primary, to develop it gives us a sense of aliveness and our greatest effectiveness in anything we do. Second, you are like the ocean. Underlying all of the activity of your mind at the surface is a state of being, a field of unlimited possibility within you and within all of us. And third, this field is a reality that can be experienced by developing the full potential of your consciousness. And when you do, mind, body, and behavior keep improving toward higher and higher levels of health and well-being. Now, we've covered a lot of ground. So what I'd like to do now is stop and take your questions. I'd love to hear about what's important to you and how I might be of service to you on this beautiful path of your personal growth. Thank you so much.
So this gives you an idea of what a consciousness talk could look like. Now, typically after a consciousness talk, the next step in your journey, as you get a glimpse of what it is like to be a consciousness advisor client, the next step is a free 30-minute session with your consciousness advisor. And of course, if you know your consciousness advisor already, like Damien was saying, you'd have a chat at the retreat and you would go straight into booking that 30-minute free session. And in the 30-minute free session, the consciousness advisor would discuss your life with you, things you'd like to improve, how consciousness could help with that, etc. And the consciousness advisors are trained to adapt that message to the level that the client is at, as Dr. Nader was saying, different doors, whatever door they are ready for. So, for example, if you have somebody that does not have a lot of experience with consciousness at all, the explanation might be very simple, like, what the experience of the state of your consciousness colors your experience, like Dr. Nader was saying. And it could be a simple explanation like, if you watch a sunrise, it might be the most beautiful sunrise in the world, but if you are sad or stressed, you would not enjoy it as much. Yeah? And very often when we look with people, and they also reflect on this themselves, if they look at what they would like to improve about their life and what is holding them back to do that, very often what is holding them back is things that lie in their subconsciousness, at a deeper level of consciousness. A very simple example is, if I want to stop eating sugar, I might be very determined that this would be good for my health. But if one day, again, I have a very rough day, I'm tired, I'm stressed, somebody said something that made me sad, I might find myself just walking to the fridge and grabbing that chocolate cake and eating it, all along knowing that really I don't want to. And everybody has this experience that a lot of what drives our behavior resides in our subconsciousness. And if the problem is at a deeper level of consciousness, then it is most effective if we can bring if we can bring solutions that also work at that deeper level. So let's take an analogy. I'll grab a sip. Dr. Nader has been talking about the wave and the ocean. So let's take this analogy one step at a time. And it's on the screen, so you'll work with me as we build it up. Imagine your mind is like an ocean. At the surface of the ocean, we have waves, activity. And that's what you see, the curvy line at the top. As you dive deeper into the ocean, the ocean gets progressively more quiet. And at the bottom of the ocean, it's really, really silent. And it's the same in our mind. At the surface of the ocean, of our surface level, our conscious thinking level of our mind, we have lots of thoughts. We think all the time. Then as we dive into our ocean, we get into our subconscious, and our thoughts get finer and finer. And when we go to the bottom of the ocean, we reach what's called our pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is who you really are. The best version of yourself is there. And as you see on the slide, it also is called source of thoughts, because our thoughts come from deep in the bottom, and they bubble up like an air bubble, what you see on the right. And they gradually bubble up, and by the time they reach the, the surface level of your mind, that's when you experience them as a thought. Now, on the left of the slide, sorry, on the left of the slide, you see an iceberg, and that is designed to show that if we are trying to change something in our life, it is like trying to move an iceberg. And if you try, icebergs have something like 15% of their mass above the water, but 85% is below the water. And trying to create that change, trying to move that iceberg just from a conscious thinking level, it's like trying to move that iceberg just pushing from the very tippy top. It's very hard to do. That's why people read all kinds of self-help books, etc., but that doesn't mean they can implement it. So what is so unique and so revolutionary about the Consciousness Advisor program that Dr. Nader's developed with all of Maharshi's knowledge is that we have all these technologies of consciousness that can really work at a deeper level. So we can bring all of those in, and now we can start to move the iceberg from all levels at the same time. And that is really what we do with our Consciousness Advisor program. And with that, I'll pass it back to Damien. I guess I can still say people report that because this is so much more effective, it also just becomes easier and more fun. Like a lot of the people in the program, report that, yeah, it's like a door that you never had the key to, and somebody gives you a key and you can unlock this door. So it's very fulfilling to hear just the power of taking all the technologies of consciousness we have and really narrowing them down to help one person with one specific problem at a time.
So we'd like to do... We'd like to do some of these exercises with everyone here now and everyone connected online. So the first one that we'll do here is called a self-reflection exercise. And because we'll be thinking about ourselves, we know we want to have the best possible thinking, and that best self-reflection comes when we are settled in ourselves. So because we know everyone present here today and everyone connected online all know TM meditation, we'll do a little short group meditation here together. But because the Consciousness Advisor program and many of the other group programs that we have are open to the public, you should just be aware that we want to do some sort of self-reflection exercise with them, and then we need to have some sort of inner practice with them. So we will teach everyone usually pranayama, and so that they have something in their toolkit to do, and those who know how to do TM meditation will do that. If they don't, then they can do the pranayama, or they can do anything else that they wish, such as just a quiet inner practice, so that people can get really settled, so that we can make sure as we proceed through the rest of the exercises, we're coming from the best possible place, our deeper consciousness. We know some consciousness advisors like to start even their sessions that they do with the customers like that as well. So let's do this now together. We can just sit comfortably and don't mind the time, and let's close our eyes. Jay Gurudev. Let's take a minute before slowly opening the eyes. Slowly open the eyes.
Thanks, everyone. That was so nice. A lot of what happens in the relationship between a consciousness advisor and their client, or between a facilitator and a group in these group programs like Super Habits, etc., is that we really connect with each other at a deeper level. And these group meditations that are often used at the start are a fantastic tool for that. After a 10-week Super Habits program, it feels like a family. There's this group consciousness, and that alone, that safety that people feel to be themselves and try new things, etc. It's a very powerful tool to help people transform their lives. Also, on a content level, it's actually very important that people are in a calm state of mind, because even just trying to think about what the problem is when your ocean is very rough and moving a lot, so when the waves are wild at the surface, it's very hard to even get to the right problem to solve. So by helping people just settle first, that is also helpful from that point of view. So let's make this practical again, see what this means for your life. So this is an example of what we call a self-reflection exercise. So you are going to reflect about your life. This specific one is from Michael Stanier, but it works well for what we are trying to do. So for this one, you don't need to write anything down. You don't need to use the chat. You can just sit quietly. If you like, you can close your eyes, or it's not necessary. And I would like you to think about something in your life that you would like to improve. And I'll give you some stillness to think about what that would be. Does everyone have something they'd like to improve? Some thoughts are coming? Yeah? Okay, good. Now I would like you to think, what is the real problem here for you to improve this thing in your life? What is the real problem here for you? Okay, now the next question is, and what else? And the next question after that is, and what else? And our final question is, now what is the real problem here for you? Okay, so you can open your eyes again for those that closed your eyes. Now I'd like you to reflect on the answer. The answer you gave to the first question, the first time I asked, what is the real problem here for you? And compare that to, by the very end, the last time I asked, what's the real problem here for you? And I'd like you to reflect if the answers to those two questions were the same or different. And I would like you to write in the chat, same or different. And for the people here in the audience, could you raise your hand if they were different? Lots of people, different answers. Okay, good. So now please put in the chat if you think it would be more effective for you to solve the first answer or the last answer. And again, if you think it's more effective to solve the answer to your last problem, then please raise your hand or write in the chat. Yeah? Good, wonderful. Now, notice that in this whole exercise, I haven't given you any advice. Right? We're talking about consciousness advisors, but because as consciousness advisors, we understand so deeply how consciousness worked, all the advisors have been trained so masterfully by Dr. Nader on how all of this works, we can help clients understand that if they can calm the waves of their ocean, they will get more clarity. The other point is, you know, Maharshi says, what you put on your attention on grows in your life. Just helping clients to figure out what really the problem is and put their attention on it for a while. That in itself is like, it helps people to start to solve their problems. It's a beginning. It's a real gift for people. And this quote that, you know, what you put your attention on grows stronger in your life from Maharshi is a real foundation in all of the CA program. There's a lot of answers to their problems that people actually have deep inside, but you help them get to it. Now, that's only one side of the equation. Of course, additionally, the advisors are trained to actually give advice as well. So that's the second part of this. You know, we'll give one example here. A while back, I was at the gym. It was a crazy thing. I realized there was somebody in the gym doing something that I was irritated with. And when I put my attention on it, I realized it was because the situation they put me in triggered an insecurity I had about myself. Had nothing to do with them, actually. But once I realized that it's something that was in me, I could then put my attention on dealing with the insecurity and fixing it in myself. And that's another very powerful principle from Maharshi, that when you feel there's something wrong with something else or somebody else, once you realize that you are the ocean, you are not just the wave, you can move your attention to what you can do. And it's very empowering for people, because as long as you feel the problem is outside of you and you don't have control over it, it's you know, you feel like a victim, and it can create a lot of bad emotions. But once you realize, oh, actually, I am the ocean, I can fix this in myself, it's very, it gives people hope and an ability to start the journey. Dr. Vicky Broom, who we'll hear about tomorrow, in this, because she's the expert of the Super Relationships program, she has this quote that says, being angry with somebody else is like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to get ill, right? All the negative emotions, they hurt us. They don't necessarily hurt the other person, but they do real damage to us. So figuring out where we can help ourselves is very powerful. And sometimes people are just a little overshadowed by the negative emotion they are in. And then it can be really helpful for a consciousness advisor to be there as a sounding board, and it's a neutral person that has a lot of positive energy, etc. Now, now we get to, and they also can give you advice. They are incredibly knowledgeable and incredibly trained. And there's another quote, which I'll ask Jalal to put on the screen share, which is also from Dr. Vicky. She's a wonderful source of great quotes. This one says, whoever travels without a guide needs 200 years for a 2-day journey. Yeah? Whoever travels without a guide needs 200 years for a 2-day journey. So this is very applicable because they are so highly trained and they can actually give advice and be a guide. So when the client has connected in this 30-minute free session with what the real problem is they would like to solve and what they would really like to improve in their life, then we can help them by giving them very specific knowledge of consciousness or technology of consciousness. And some of that can possibly start in the 30-minute free session, but most of that is what unfolds in the rest of the consciousness journey. So I'll pass that back to Damien.
Thank you. So we'll continue on our journey through the Consciousness Advisor program. Now we've completed our Consciousness Advisor talk. So at this stage, I'm sure everyone is just gearing up and already wants to go and buy some sessions. So there are different packages. A lot of people will go for a series of 10 sessions because it takes some time to really create lasting transformation from inside to out. But there's also options available to do 3 or even just 1 session with the Consciousness Advisor. So the next step then in the journey is that before the first session, the customer or client will fill out a 32-question questionnaire to help get a better assessment of where they are in their life and what is affecting them. So we won't go through the whole 32 questions here, but we wanted to just give you a quick sample. So we can put the 3 questions that are there up on the screen. Thank you. So these questions the customer will go through, and of course they will rate their response on whether they strongly disagree, all the way through to agreeing or strongly agreeing, like that. So the first one is, I find I get intensely involved in many of the things I do each day. I believe I've discovered who I really am. I think it would be ideal if things came to me easily in my life. So why don't we just take a minute? You can actually just ponder those for yourselves. Think to yourself if you agree, disagree with each one, or you can write it down if you like. So then the answers of all of these 32 questions will go to, of course, to the Consciousness Advisor, and that forms the basis of their first hour session together, where they can really get into planning what they're going to be doing in the remaining few sessions, or understanding where that person is in their own consciousness journey, their own level of consciousness.
And then during the 1-hour session, the CA will then review the answers that you as the client have answered to those 32 questions in the consciousness journey assessment. And then you'll make a plan together with your advisor about what you would like to get out of these sessions. And so there's a template that the advisor will fill out with you. It's a little small, but on the left column, they would basically summarize some of the points from your assessment. So because this is a template you will keep coming back to session after session. So it's a record of that state where you started. Then the middle column, the advisor will work with you to write what objectives you would like to get out of that time you have planned together. And then the last column will go into a very concrete action plan of actions the client wants to take. Next, once that is done and you are all aligned on what you want to do, the CA would take the client through the wheel of progress. And that is a visual representation of all the knowledge and all the technologies of consciousness that are included in the Consciousness Advisor program. And the credit for this goes to Joachim, who is here somewhere. There he is, who created this wheel and just who came up with the idea of we need something visual, like a game where people can track how far they are and how far they've come, etc. And clients love this because they can track their progress, but also it's just this vision of the whole. You can focus on a little thing and then you bring it back to the wholeness. So when we look on this wheel, you see 14 bubbles in a circle. We'll go through them one by one. First one is called mind and brain. Second one is purpose. Then we have health, then body, then food, then we have purification, then we have our house, our environment, education, it's hard to read, time, relationships, light, sound, smell, and touch. So 14 ways to improve your life through technologies of consciousness. And then what you see on this the screen here now, in this version of our wheel, some of them are colored orange. So because each bubble connects to the center through a spoke, and you see there's little numbers on each spoke, and those are different steps of progress, if you will, that you can take in this dimension. So, and it goes actually from the outside to the center. You get more and more closer to yourself and discovering who you really are, as Dr. Nader was so beautifully explaining. The steps that are highlighted in orange here, those are steps where we have created knowledge sheets. And a knowledge sheet, I'll show you an example in a second. It is literally a sheet of knowledge that has been reviewed by all the top experts and ministers in the organization to be exactly the right knowledge for a specific topic. And the consciousness advisors have these knowledge sheets available. So a client would say, okay, for example, they would go through the whole wheel and they would say, okay, I feel I would like to start with purification, let's say. You know, there could be many reasons why somebody would be interested in that. Maybe they've been living in a city and breathing bad air, or maybe they know they've been eating lots of processed food, or maybe they just have been feeling their digestion is off, and Ayurveda tells us that if our digestion works well, the good stuff goes in our blood and the bad stuff gets eliminated. But if our digestion is not working well, some of the good stuff gets eliminated and some of the bad stuff can get in our blood, and that is treated like toxins in our body. So there can be many reasons, but for whatever reason, if the client says, if you as the client say, detoxification, that's where I want to start, then that's where the consciousness advisor will start. And then they will look through, okay, what are the different steps in this spoke of the wheel? And in the case of detoxification, the first 3 steps are knowledge sheets. So then the consciousness advisor would share those knowledge sheets and review the knowledge with the client. And that's the next slide. There you go. So you see there's like 1 page each. It's hard to read from there, but one is about tongue scraping, the way to get toxins out of your body, which surprisingly many meditators have never heard about. And it's such an easy, powerful way. Then we have a recipe for detox tea, an Ayurvedic recipe that can help. It's just some simple herbs you boil with water and then you drink it throughout the day. And then the last one is the benefits of doing abhyanga. It's another great way through the skin of getting rid of toxins. So that's just an example. And then the next session, the client would typically come back and they would share how it went with implementing. Maybe the client says, okay, I will start with detox tea for the next 2 weeks. So they will go and for 2 weeks do it, and then they will come back. And whatever symptoms they had that made them want to start with detoxification, either they will say, well, I've tried the basics and maybe they've helped a little, but not quite enough. And then the consciousness advisor can say, well, then maybe you need some stronger, intervention. And he might recommend panchakarma or different, more powerful technologies of consciousness. And for that, of course, the consciousness advisor would refer the client to an expert, in this case, a PK clinic. Or it's possible that the client says, great, that did the trick, I feel much better, let's move on to purpose or relationships or sound, whatever they want to do next. So it's really the client that guides the journey based on their intuition, where they're at, what they are attracted to, what they feel will be most helpful for them. Yeah? So the consciousness advisor has now gone through whatever knowledge sheets or whatever knowledge with the client. And then the next step is that they would discuss together what concrete steps they would like to take. And then they will also, so they have, here it says objective 1, so they might have multiple sheets like this, but a clear objective they want, and then evidence markers. This means, how will I know that I have reached my objective, right? You might say, I want to sleep better. Well, yes, and what does that concretely mean? It might mean, I can think more clearly during the day, or it might mean I'm ticking off that I'm getting at least 7 hours of sleep, whatever way the client defines it. And then these evidence markers, the idea is that we then start tracking them. So if a client has a package of 10 sessions, we might say, we track where you feel 1 to 10 you are at now when we start. And then halfway through and maybe at the end, we track again and we ask them again, where do you feel you're at? How is it going, etc. So these templates have been structured in a way that it's fairly easy for the consciousness advisor to just go through the process step by step with the client. And then, of course, when that session comes to a close, depending if the clients purchased 1 session, then that is kind of it, and they can implement whatever tips they had. If they purchased 3 or 10 session packages, then there would be, of course, the next session to look forward to. And what we find is that just knowing there is a next session helps people to implement their action steps, because they know somebody cares, somebody's going to ask them in 2 weeks how it went, and it's a person that cares for them and is beautiful and is supportive and positive. So just knowing, yeah, somebody cares, somebody's going to ask me how I did, that in itself helps for people to get into whatever change they want for their life. Great. Then, so we've been testing this process all over the world by now, and clients love this. They love the experience they have. They love the transformation in their life. And I wanted to show one testimonial, so we'll ask to put that on the screen. But the other thing I wanted to share while we put the slide up is we started the tests in New Zealand, which was the beta test country, on Akshaya Tritiya 2023. And the very first consciousness talk that Heather gave, who you saw in the video, she had 1 person show up, and that 1 person signed up for a package of 10 sessions. Now that person, in the meantime, has completed her 10 sessions, which takes 20 weeks because it's a session every 2 weeks. After her first 20 weeks, she said, no, I don't want to stop. I want another 10 sessions. And after that, she wanted another 10 sessions. So she is currently already in the 20 to 30 sessions. And we're seeing this now replicate all over the world as well. I think John Freeman was mentioning this yesterday as well, that people don't want to leave. and that's really beautiful. And so the quote we're about to see is from one of Paul Wilson's clients, who also did a package of 10 and also wants to sign up or has signed up for more. Yeah, thank you, Jalal. So this one says, the Consciousness Advisor program is like nothing I've ever experienced before in my 50 years of searching for the best way to live life. It combines vast, centuries-old Vedic knowledge with a syllabus determined by the individual student and guided by a trained advisor. So in summary, the Consciousness Advisor program is a way for you to put your own attention on improving your life through this amazing knowledge and technologies of consciousness that Maharshi left as his legacy, and that Dr. Nader so beautifully kind of created into this program. And you do it with a highly trained, positive energy, high consciousness expert guide to accompany you on that journey, to hopefully help make sure that you don't need 200 days for your 2-day journey, but you can hopefully do it in 2 days.
So if we want to find a consciousness advisor, the Consciousness Advisor program has been rolled out in many, many countries throughout the world. To help you find the link to the right country, we have on oneconsciousness.org/country. We can put the slide up on the screen so people can have it there. That will take you, we can leave that there for a moment, but that will take you to a page where you can easily find a link to your country so that you can have the sessions in your own local language as well. We know Maharshi always wanting to encourage people to be doing things in their mother tongue and in their local culture. So the Consciousness Advisor program embodies that also. So after going to the correct website, then you'll be able to scroll down where you can go through a carousel of the consciousness advisors that are available there and read a short biography about each one of them. So the customer can choose which of the consciousness advisors they feel they will resonate best with, and then can sign up for some sessions. And then all of the time slots that are available there, yes, which we can see on the screen now. So then this is a very simple way for someone to choose the date and time session that they would like to start for their first free consciousness advisor session. Yeah.
And maybe I'll comment that if the consciousness advisor program is not yet rolled out in your country, on that slide with all the flags that you saw, yeah, there. You see there's one at the bottom that says other. So if your country is not yet rolled out and you click on other, there's a form you fill out, and then we will work with you. If your country is about to launch, we might say, hang in there, they're coming soon. Or if your country is not yet ready to launch, we might connect you with an advisor in a different country. So then that may take a little bit of time to organize, but please do fill out the form, and we will all help you with your first free consciousness advisor session as quickly as possible. With that completes our presentation. We wanted to open it up for questions. And so if you are online, I know there's 600 or 700 of you online, please write your questions in the chat, and we should have our wonderful Kate that is gonna magically pass questions to Anna Marijke, I think. Yeah, perfect. So any questions you like, of course, for Dr. Nader on the high level, and we are here to help also in any way we can with the practical details.
As the questions are being collected and looking forward to answering them, I want to make a couple of comments. First, to thank all the team that has created this program together and structured it, and really includes all the leadership of Maharishi's Transcendental Meditation movement, because the Consciousness Advisor program, with all these spokes of the wheels that you have seen, have actually been assembled together by the ministries, by the different specialists that we have in the movement and the different categories of knowledge that have been represented in a nice way in those wheels. So the actual wheel has been built and constructed by the specialist in the movement in terms of its content, and then, as Miriam said, Joachim had the idea of making it into a wheel, which was a very nice idea. But the actual content of it, the actual steps of it, the actual structure of it, all come from this knowledge that we have received from Maharishi, and that has been structured through years and years of research and planning and organizing and structuring. So this is one very important point to know, that this knowledge has very deep-rooted traditions that have proven themselves throughout time and throughout the history of the knowledge from the Veda. For example, forever diet and different techniques that are there, they are all from not an invention, not just some recent invention. And including the steps, actually, that sometimes are referred to some person who thought about it or have an idea from somewhere, they are actually coming from the Veda. For example, Krishna takes Arjuna through all of these questionnaires and discussions throughout the Bhagavad Gita, and guides even one of the highly enlightened individuals to yoga kuru karmani by answering questions and putting forth what doubts there may be, what insecurity is there, and all of that, and guide them to Yoga Stakuru Karmani in a gradual way. So this is another point. And as the program develops, my desire and instructions to the team has been to put it all in terms of the steps of knowledge that the Bhagavad Gita presents, for example, because that is a very high supreme level, actually, of understanding of the steps of what a discussion is about. Why should I do this? Why shouldn't I do that? What is better? Is this better? How do I deal with others? How do I deal with my mind and my heart if they are in conflict? And all of that. So that is another point. And the third point is that really this program is a little bit of a lengthier introduction to really transcending. We give our introductory lectures, and those who are on the fast track are directly actually guided to the fast track, which means this is not what have been mentioned. It looks like as if we're in the process taking people away from transcendental meditation and putting them on a 10-week or 12-week course before they can actually transcend. This has been presented like this because we are short in time, and it's been, the process has been short-circuited to highlight the novelty in what is being offered. But after the talk that is being done by Heather, and as she says in her talk, for example, we'll talk about transcendental meditation, then the explanation of how to get rid of the iceberg if it is there as a block or as ability to transcend, then we have to learn transcendental meditation. So this always comes as the absolute first guideline to people. So in terms of instructions, the way it goes is we usually give transcendental meditation introduction, and in this transcendental meditation introduction, we highlight a number of research studies. But people are maybe interested in one aspect and one problem, and we haven't mentioned it for some reason during our introductory lecture. We talked about general things which cover general well-being, etc. But a person might have a very specific problem, say they have bad habits, or they have something that they do and they are concerned about relationships, and we haven't mentioned that. And so this reflection for a few moments actually is a way to ask people what they are coming for, why they come for the program, in a sense, what is bothering them, and then be able to target our approach towards their need, their immediate need. So somebody who says, I'm bothered for blood pressure, I have a high blood pressure, then we guide the introductory lecture towards saying that we have research on high blood pressure, and when you close your eyes and try to find what is it that bothers you, what are your needs, you thought maybe blood pressure was your problem. And so it is good to know that, because I have a technique, I have a method that helps you in your blood pressure, and the highest way is transcendental meditation. And also we have different purification techniques, we have different diet recommendations based on your body type. And so it's very rich program that offers the entire scope of possibilities, always highlighting the highest first, which is to transcend. And that's why there is that ocean that's being presented with the waves on the surface and saying that you have to dive deep. And of course, the consciousness advisor immediately will say, diving in and being able to act from the depths of the ocean is the highest ability to actually overcome whatever issue you have, or whatever on the level of evolution and growth and development and enlightenment you want to achieve. So these are very important points to keep in mind as we are looking at the process, and not give the impression that somebody comes, we start asking them this, and then we ask them to sign that, and then go through 20 days without primarily and in a very emphatic way introducing the highest first, which is go back to yourself, and then all else will be happening onto you in a positive way. But those who are not able to do that for whatever reason, maybe financial reason, maybe time reason, maybe just ignorance of the fact that transcending is the best, and they are not part of those 1% or so that actually take the transcending, even though we give all the logic of it. We want to know why they don't get it. Maharishi said, it's a beautiful quote from him. Maharishi said that one time there was a philosopher or a thinker that followed him many places and listened to his talks and talks and talks. And then at one point, this man comes to Maharishi and tells him, I've been following you everywhere and listening to your talks. And you have been saying the same thing all along, repeating the same thing. And Maharishi simply said, did you start transcendental meditation? And the man said, no, not yet. And Maharishi gave an answer something like, oh, so you haven't heard me even once. And so there are those people who haven't heard even once. And we want to know why they haven't heard. What is their problem? Because we know we have the highest knowledge, and we know it works, and we have scientific research to back it up. And we want to say, okay, close your eyes and tell me what's your problem. It's like Krishna on the battlefield telling Arjuna, tell me what is your concern. Why aren't you being able to act on the highest possible level? And takes the person from wherever they are into actually understanding Yogaста Kuru Karmani. And Yogaста Kuru Karmani comes in the early chapters, yet the discussion keeps going, because in this stressful, high, kind of tense situation in which the great warrior was, the Arjuna, he couldn't fully get it, and he had to take him through all of this. So even if Arjuna had to get through this, Maharishi's knowledge and compassion and our teaching has to have that infinite compassion so that we can offer even to those who are not able to see the possibility. And that's why we say, okay, settle down a little, close your eyes. What is it that you need? And then we have something for what you need. And the highest that you can do is to transcend and to go back to yourself. And all those things that you need are going to be resolved. And the person says, I'm not ready, I don't have time, what to do? I can't take anything from you, goodbye. This is one option. The other option is, wait a minute, let's look at it deeply, let's look at it more, and see that we actually can take you wherever you want, in whatever steps you are willing to follow. And that's why we have a set up system that will actually guide you through the steps, and we can see these different parts of your life, what is needed, and maybe adjust the diet. Maybe the person is not ready to meditate because they haven't eaten properly. They come to you, they have taken the wrong things. And maybe then they eat the right thing, they feel more settled, and they start seeing clearer. And that's all about consciousness, because eating the right thing is going to make the consciousness clearer and less drowsy, maybe. As Maharishi said in the little tape that I played yesterday for the using technology, and he used like, a person takes a fresh glass of water and they are clearer and they are nice, they feel like right. And that is the delicacy of the human nervous system. He called it the human computer, that computer which has that delicacy, that changes can happen on the surface level, but they have an impact on the decision making and the ability to see clearly. So if we have that knowledge that allows people to see clearly and make the decision to transcend, it would be a shame not to use it. And so that is the whole idea of the system that we are establishing. It might need some tweaking here and there, some little change and emphasis on where the questionnaire is and like that, but it's a work in a way of the details, whereas the fundamentals are there, the fundamentals have been available, and it's just the delivery system in terms of how we emphasize what at what time and in which way we guide that. And it's a wonderful process that has been going on in a very beautiful way and will continue to go on like that. So I guess now we have taken enough time for the questions to be gathered and for the pressure on Anna Marijke to review them, maybe highlighting a few questions. So looking forward to the discussion.
And Anna Marijke, if I may, I'd like to add one more comment to what Dr. Nader was saying. We do exactly what he was saying also with the Super Habits program, for example. Some people come and they've never heard about TM. They're not looking for meditation. They're looking to exercise regularly or stop eating sugar or whatever. And we take them on a 10-week journey. And from week 1 or 2, we start to week 2, is where we do the bubble diagram and we start explaining that, yeah, of course, TM is the best way for this. So we start dropping very gentle hints. We start talking about TM throughout the program, but in a subtle, non-pushy way. And some people, even throughout the program, decide, oh yes, this TM thing, I wanna learn that, etc. Or for people that are just a little bit more focused on their exercise or whatever it is that they signed up for, they go through the 10 weeks, but so much trust has been built and so much understanding has been gained by them in terms of the power of consciousness to transform their life, that they're really open by the end. And so on week 11, we do a bonus session, which is just purely a TM intro for anybody that hasn't learned TM yet. And so far, we have surveys at the end that asks people, actually, have you learned TM or not? So we only know at the end who's a meditator and who's not. But from those surveys, the people that were not meditators yet, half of those have already started with TM. And the other half basically is interested, but still thinking or getting around. But 50% is incredibly high as a conversion rate. So, and it's exactly what Dr. Nader is saying. We want to help people at the highest level, but we start with what they're ready. I believe, I don't know, Science of Being, one of those books, I'm not the expert on this, but where Maharishi said, if people are in the mud, you have to go into the mud to help them. And so whatever they're ready for, whatever way we can add value to their life and start building that trust so they're ready to hear the next level from us, that is where we start, basically.
Thank you, Miriam and Damien, for this inspiring introduction to a consciousness advisor session and really getting a feeling for the program itself. And thank you, Dr. Nader, for the beautiful points that you added. So now you all who are connected have an opportunity to ask Dr. Nader your questions. So if you haven't already, please write your questions in the Q&A window, and we'll be able to address some of the questions that you submit live now during our Q&A. So we have already a few questions that came in, and this question may be for you, Miriam and Damien, on as a consciousness advisor themselves. I think someone is curious to see what you receive as a consciousness advisor in terms of the knowledge. So do the certified consciousness advisors receive the advice and suggestions given on each of the 14 topics shown in the Wheel of Progress, including what you mentioned in terms of tongue scraping, etc.?
Yes, that is why the consciousness advisor course is an incredibly powerful and detailed course that you learn from, as Dr. Nader was saying, all the experts in the TM organization, all the detail. So you don't just learn what your clients will get to learn. You learn so much more because you have to be able to answer their questions. You have to know the background of everything. So it's really, like Maharshi said, the teachers gains most. In this case, it's also the consciousness advisor gains most. They gain the most knowledge. And also, as we heard from John Freeman yesterday, while talking it out to other people, it structures in your own consciousness in a much deeper way. So yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I think there are some of our TM teachers connected as well who are curious to learn a bit more about how the consciousness advisor sessions will be promoted and marketed in parallel with TM introductory sessions. So maybe you could comment on that too. That would be great.
I mean, Dr. Nader basically explained it, right? In terms of the connection with introductory sessions, it is when somebody comes for a TM intro, we tell them about TM, and we don't disrupt them from that path of learning TM by telling them, here's all these other things you could do. So it's a very straight, you want to learn TM, let me tell you about TM, you can learn TM. However, if they say, oh no, I'm not ready to learn TM, then instead of letting them go, teachers can tell them about the Consciousness Advisor program straight away, because as Dr. Nader was saying, it's possible they need some other help first before they are, at the next level where they could consider taking that next step of transcendental meditation. So that is one path a person doesn't learn, and then we can see if we can help them with the Consciousness Advisor program in some other, more basic way first. Or if the person does learn TM, then we let them take their instructions, take their 3 days checking, and then at the 3rd day checking, we start to mention that this Consciousness Advisor program is available. And what we found is specifically during retreats, people are really, really open to just get to a higher level because they've had a really deep experience of transcending typically at a retreat, and often they decide, oh, I need more of this in my life. How do I get more of this consciousness value in my life? And so that's also another touch point where teachers can present the Consciousness Advisor program. And for the rest, just they know they're meditators. People might come for a checking, or the teacher might email meditators themselves to say, hey, I'm a consciousness advisor now. If you want the free session, let me know. So for TM teachers, there is many possibilities to connect with their consciousness advisor. And it's a free session. Yeah, yes, thank you. The first 30-minute session is always free. So it's a very easy thing for TM teachers to offer to their meditators to say, if you like, we have a chat, we find the time, and then we see if this is something that could help you. Yeah.
Beautiful. On the other hand, knowing that a lot of our meditators or those who start learning TM may be interested in the Consciousness Advisor programs and all the related programs that we have to offer after learning TM. So the question is, can we incorporate some of the hacks for creating new habits into the follow-up program of the TM course to help our new meditators become strong, established meditators?
This is an excellent question. It is a question we have not yet answered fully. It is something we are thinking about.
We can answer it now.
Yeah, good. Well, what you want to answer?
Yeah, of course we can integrate, which is to offer the course, So our movement is moving into a way where we have to maintain ourselves and sustainability. We have all this great energy, this great creativity, the young people, the experienced teachers, the experienced leaders in the movement. And we give all our time and energy for that. And it's important that people acknowledge that value. And so whereas we, have offered so much in terms of time and training, we have to be in tune with the perception of our value and ask for remuneration for the work that is being done in order to be able to continue our desire to enlighten the world and mission. It needs people, and people needs to be supported and all of that. So adding some hacks or here and there, it's wonderful, but it's going to be a paying kind of additions of things. So you're going to ask us to use our time, to use our energy, and all of that, which is wonderful. And I know it's not the problem, but it's going to be structured as part of courses that will, require you to either join, as for example, the Consciousness Applied course that has been announced, which is not only hacks about habits, but takes you through also many others in terms of daily purpose of your life, in terms of relationships, in terms of proper habits and all of that. And so, yes, you're welcome. It's not such, expensive course. It's offered at a very logical amount, and it is ready for you to start the process. So you can start by taking this course, even if, and certainly when you are a meditator that needs a little more push and more greater knowledge. So we have all the advanced techniques, the CD program, and all of that, and we have courses. These courses can include, depending on your interest, something about higher states of consciousness, about total knowledge, about agriculture, about leadership, and our leaders have courses, and we have a pamphlet which has many, many courses, and you're welcome to join those courses. And if you feel like you're interested in these things, such as habits and relationships, etc., even finances and career, and have how to have abundance in life, and what are higher states of consciousness and all of that. So we have these packages, and that will be a package that is already now offered. So if you want these small ideas like that, packaged in a very dense way that get you started on good habits, I suggest you apply or you just take the course. It's available. And if you feel like you're inspired by the course and you want to go in greater detail and follow these several weeks of actually training you to absolutely master your habits, then there is this well-developed course that you can join over several weeks. So that would be the answer for the question.
Perfect. And I'll give a sneak preview. I hesitated because we're rolling this out in the US first next week. Is a special system for all the TM teachers to have access to the introduction videos we've made for all so there's 10 hacks for habit change, and 5 hacks for happy relationships, and 3 hacks for a purpose-filled life. And you'll get a glimpse of that starting this afternoon, of those intros. But those full intro videos will be made available to all the TM teachers so that they can share it during group meditations, or if they have a specific person that says, look, I have a real problem with my relationships, and they can send them that video for them to learn more, and then, possibly sign up for the program. So this is coming in the US next week, and hopefully in all the other countries very soon after.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Miriam, for clarifying that. I think we have a number of TM teachers who are keen to join the program and become consciousness advisors themselves. So there's a question about...
Which makes them
That's right, executive governors. So anyone who hasn't heard that yet, who is a TM teacher or governor, as we call them, once you take the consciousness advisor training course yourself, you become an executive governor. So and there are beautiful talks by Dr. Nader that you can watch on how the program works and is laid out for you. And on that note, there's a question about how big is the career pool currently of active consciousness advisors, and how many people have gone through the program, meaning have taken consciousness advisor sessions. Miriam, any numbers on that?
Oh, wow, on top of my head. I know there's 2,000 people who started the Consciousness Advisor program. I think there are several hundred who got to the step of being certified, and there's hundreds and hundreds that are actively still working to get certified. I know there's 300 that have started the next Executive Governor Consciousness Advisor program that are starting and going through the program now. I know we have about 100, I think, that are actually launched and actually actively have sessions on websites, etc. The number of actual sessions, honestly, I don't know on top of my head. And maybe for those that want to become consciousness advisors, maybe Jalal can put the links we shared yesterday for the Executive Governor course and for the new course for meditators and siddhas. Maybe we can put that back in the chat window so everybody can get it there, and the information to sign up for the course you can find on those web pages.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that would be helpful. There are certainly more follow-up questions on this, how to get started and what the requirements are for TM teachers. Now, one question that came in, maybe going back to the principles of consciousness and really understanding more how the Consciousness Advisor program fits in with transcendental meditation and really the depth of our consciousness. There is a question that came in regarding the principle of the self-referral state of consciousness. And the question is, where do we find this principle of self-referral state of consciousness in the Consciousness Advisor program as brought out by Maharishi? The person who's asking the question heard during the talk that a person or client talks about their problem and the advisor gives suggestions to them on what they could do. Now, how does that relate to the self-referral experience of consciousness that someone has during TM? How do these probably tips and hacks relate to, growing more in that self-referral value?
Everything we do to ourselves, everything we expose ourselves to is ultimately a self-referral process, even though when we look at an object that is outside of ourselves, we project our knower value, our subject, into an object, and then the object takes over our awareness. And if that is creating a shadow on our self-referral ability, that's what we call stress or strain. So stress is a term we have used in our movement in a quite a general way, but actually it means anything that overshadows the self and blocks us from seeing from a true self-referral level. And so that will then include whatever you eat that is not right, whatever you do that is disturbing your balance, whatever you expose yourself to in terms of the environment that ultimately creates these shadows or these blocks or these obstacles from the ability to be yourself and to see yourself. And so all that we do in the Consciousness Advisor program is to remove those shadows and those filters and those blocks and obstacles. And this can be done by directly diving into the self, of course, through transcendental meditation, settling down, and therefore the stresses get released spontaneously, which is the fastest, easiest, and most powerful way to go back to the self. But if we also have some bad habits, or we have poor eating behavior, or expose ourselves to greater stresses, then we can see how even on the surface level, we can prevent this from happening and guiding the individuals to prevent themselves from being exposed to those blockage and whatever I'm calling filters and shadows, etc. So you can have self-referral by directly going back to the self, or by actually removing those blocks that prevent you from going back to the self. We can use, again, the analogy of the snow plow that we use during our transcendental meditation, 3 days checking after instruction. On the last day, we explained that the process has 2 aspects that happen simultaneously. One is like the snowplow has to reach a certain goal. At the same time, in order to reach the goal, it has to clear the path on the road. So as it advances, there are 2 things actually happening simultaneously that actually somehow are supporting each other, but also are evident, which is remove the snow and move forward, remove the snow and move forward. So remove the obstacles and move forward. So for full self-referral, you have to remove those values, those blockages, and TM does it spontaneously and naturally. But if you yourself are adding snow on the road, then TM has to work harder. So what we're saying in this program is, let's try to make the road as less blockage having, as less snow, less obstacles as possible, so that the snowplow can move actually faster and get you to the goal without having to struggle or push through those stresses. So it might seem like an indirect way, but it's actually a very direct way of helping self-referral by re-establishing balance and harmony in our physiology. And then naturally, the ability to transcend is easier and faster. And that is how we do accomplish self-referral. And that's the whole idea of the consciousness advisors, is that to put everything in the context of actually self-referral and rising in consciousness and experiencing that we are everything, we are the self, we are wholeness, by going to that ocean and removing again the blocks that prevent you from going to that ocean.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Nader. That was a beautiful reply and answer. Now, a final question before we break, before our next session. And that question is, I think, related to teaching of both programs, the Consciousness Advisor program and Transcendental Meditation. And the question is, will the Consciousness Advisor program supplement the TM introductory talk over time? Meaning, will the TM course, as we know it, going to be phased out over time, or are TM centers going to run separate courses and separate introductory talks at the same time?
The TM course will never be phased out, and the introductory lecture will never be phased out either. It's again a question of getting those who are not ready for some reason to transcend, to give them the opportunity to enter the house from a different door. And that door is what they have in themselves, because we are confident, more than confident, this is part of the nature of life to grow, that ultimately everyone in the world will be practicing transcendental meditation, because that's the fastest way, the easiest way to reach the inner value of life, the self-referral fullness, and grow into understanding that oneness of being is the ocean that is appearing as different values, and that is by directly going to the ocean. And so therefore, everyone is going to be learning transcendental meditation. And those who are not ready immediately, we are offering them easiest way to become ready. And that is by guiding them on some special simple things, again, here and there, diet, habits, etc. We have, I think, highlighted the point in different, from different angles enough to not have to repeat it. And so, therefore, we are not kind of phasing out something. We are introducing a system that will allow us to bring people from wherever they are, gradually, by answering their needs, gradually, into understanding that the highest first will always be first. But in this case, it appears that it's not first because people will say, well, I don't want to do it. And so we have the option either to let them go or say, well, we have technologies, we have things to help you to get to understand the primacy and priority and value of consciousness. And that is through all the approaches that we have. That means education, we have consciousness-based education, we have universities that teach different topics. MIU is there, we are proud of it, and it does teach different topics. We have Ayurveda, we have Sthapatyaveda, we have Jyotish, we have all of the technologies that are available, and all we are doing is just structuring that so that the teachers are actually able to suggest those, guide people in a way that is structured so that the teacher's time is remunerated, that they can find TM programs and our movement as a viable, fulfilling profession that allows them to give all the technologies in a way that is structured again. And that's very important because so far our teachers would teach transcendental meditation and then all their life they spend checking people, taking them to residence courses, talking to them about Ayurveda, talking to them about health, talking to them about body types, inspiring them to go to clinics to do detoxification and all that. And they don't get any remuneration for that. And therefore their profession is not viable. And that's why they're not full-time. They're not able to survive like that. So the Consciousness Advisor program is to make it viable so that your time is valued. And if people, say, oh, you should give me this for free, you say, well, I would like to, but I have to be able to have the time to survive, to have a profession that is allowing me to do this service. And so in a world where people, spend a lot of money on a lot of things, many of them not always useful or helpful, when we have such a great technology and great knowledge, so guiding, inspiring, is going to be something that people have to value and for which they will be looking forward to pay for it and do it on an individual level, and we hope also on the corporate level for businesses, for great organization, even on maybe government level, in schools, and military, and all of these aspects. And everything is structured so that there is compensation that is proper, and our teachers can have a wonderful profession of enlightening the people from different perspectives. So that was also part of the goal. Of course, the ultimate goal is enlightenment for every individual and peace and harmony and invisibility for all societies and for our dear world. That is the only actual goal. But there are means to achieve that goal. And we have this knowledge and technology. And again, we're structuring it in a way that it could work and it could become an inspiration for people to become consciousness advisors because it gives them fulfillment on a personal level to help others, but allows them to be sustained and to be able to continue to do that service.
Thank you, Dr. Nader, for really this clear vision of the future that we talk about of our TM organization and really being able to share the fullness of Marshi's knowledge and the Vedic technologies with everyone, which is really what, especially for us TM teachers, is our desire to be able to guide people all the way to their full unfoldment of consciousness. So thank you for this beautiful vision. And with that, we're concluding our fourth very interactive session for today. Our third session. We're starting our fourth session soon. So thank you again, Dr. Nader, Miriam, and Damien for this beautiful session today. Now, this afternoon, we will continue our assembly with exploring the application of the knowledge of consciousness to habit change. So we'll have, again, some beautiful presentations along with an interactive session and more time for Q&A with Dr. Nader, which I'm sure there are more questions. So we thank you for all your questions that you submitted online as well. So we'll meet again at 2 o'clock Central European Summer Time and look forward to seeing you all there. Enjoy. And for those who are with us here, we would just like to take a quick moment to celebrate 2 birthdays of 2 our mothers of the domain, Beate Chassé and Leadaway Miley's, who are, I think, here with us in the hall, actually. So maybe we could take that opportunity to sing to them and celebrate and sing them to their birthday. And maybe you would like to stand up or even come here to the front, Beate, and lead away.